What's up, gamers? Aaron Shack here with the Shackcast episode 38. Remember that the best way to support the channel is to sign up for a membership on the YouTube channel. Members get exclusive channel badges to highlight their continued support over the months and years. As a member, you get access to special emojis expressing a variety of emotions and support for the channel. Members will also receive photo and status updates, early access to select videos, and at higher tiers, access to a members-only Discord channel. Your support is what keeps the Shackcast photography blog and the YouTube channel going. Please like and share the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on a video or a Shackcast episode. Thank you for tuning in. And today we have the latest in gaming news for this week here in September of 2023. One of the biggest things that I have on my radar here is that the biggest update yet for Star Wars Jedi Survivor finally adds NVIDIA's DLSS and improves console performance. So, according to Xbox and PlayStation reports on that, this 7th patch for the game introduces new GPU and CPU optimizations, disables ray tracing, which enables the game to run at 60 FPS in performance mode. Cinematics on console are locked at 30 FPS, but that's not an issue really, because even on PC, you're really going to see those cinematics actually drop quite a bit. They're not going to hold steady at 60. Quality mode got some upgrades, which should reduce frame rate fluctuations and improve visuals. PS5 got variable refresh rate support as well. Now for PC, we have official DLSS support. EA chose to partner with AMD for the PC launch of Jedi Survivor, which once again, FSR2 always ends up being subpar, and I think the same goes for Starfield. Official DLSS support is supposedly coming for Starfield as well. I think we need to be able to have the options. AMD customers need to get what they want, and NVIDIA customers need to be able to get what they want. You need to care for everyone and all of the hardware that they're using when they're playing your game. There is no excuse for someone to have to wait several months and 7 patches later just to be able to have a stable experience with your game. And here's the issue. It's not done. Actually, we're looking at this 7th patch, and it still doesn't run well in PC because there are animation skips in the game. And of course, if you're playing with ray tracing enabled, it does appear that the game crashes at times. So I've chosen to just delete the game. I might pick it up on console someday when it's on sale. I think that's probably the preferred way to play it at this point. A lot of people that even waited for the patch 7 to come out have said, it's not, it's great, it's better than it was at launch, but like it still was not an enjoyable experience for playing the game. So yeah, that is. We will have links in the description down below if you'd like to read the article on that. Next, the PlayStation UK account. This was actually kind of funny. They tweeted something this week, and it says, treat yourself to 19 inches of Venom and more with Marvel Spider-Man 2 Collector's Edition. And indeed, it does have a 19-inch tall statue with Miles Morales and Peter Parker both fighting Venom. And I did pre-order this, so you get a steelbook case, you get a digital deluxe PlayStation 5 game. Yeah, that's right. They're selling you a steelbook case, but if you want the disc, you have to buy like the regular edition of Spider-Man 2 with the disc. So you got to buy the game like twice. I don't get it. Also, pre-order bonuses. 2 early unlocked suits for Peter and Miles. You get a web grabber gadget and plus 3 skill points. So I guess, you get access to some skills early. It's really weird for them sell stuff like this. 10 unique suits for Peter and Miles, 5 each. Additional photo mode items and 2 skill points. It's very weird for a collector's edition. I would almost rather them throw in like a web shooter or a costume at this point, instead of all these weird pre-order bonuses. But yeah, the statue and the steelbook are pretty much the big deal there. But yeah, just kind of thought the innuendo of them saying, you know, enjoy 19 inches of Venom, to be a little bit a wild thing to say on social media. Next, I have here some news on Silent Hill Ascension. This is the game that essentially the audience is going to sort of watch this game, or watch this and participate in the decisions every week, and that will sculpt the story of the game. So it will allow everyone to make narrative decisions, creating the canon for Silent Hill Ascension and building the experience as an audience. So yeah, it looks like there's going to be some element of the community voting and deciding potentially on what characters' actions are, who lives, who dies, you know, things like that could happen. I think it's weird. I would rather them just let it be an individual experience and a replayable one, because the community, you know, you could have people that are memers, you know, that just want to go for the joke ending. You're going to have people hacking, you know, whatever way that they're distributing the way to vote and make choices on this. You know, there's going to be people, you know, finding ways to create multiple accounts or whatever has to do with that. So I see it as a potential, you know, this could go either really well or it could go really bad. But yeah, that's all I have on Silent Hill Ascension. Definitely a lot of projects being worked on over there at Konami in terms of Silent Hill. Next thing I have here is that Volition was shut down by Embracer Group. They recently bought them from... I don't think it was Square Enix. No. Yeah, they recently bought Volition, and they made Descent, they made Free Space, Summoner, they did Saints Row, they did the Red Faction games. So after 30 years of making games, and mostly because Saints Row that came out in 2022 did not perform very well, Volition has been shut down. Now those games will be shifted around and probably, you know, given to other publishers and studios, and you know, it's possible we could see a Red Faction or maybe a Saints Row someday. But I think with Saints Row, I think they're really gonna need to come back strong. The latest Saints Row didn't really do much iterations beyond what the 360 games did. You know, it really needed a change in terms of gameplay, graphics, just the overall design of the game. It just felt like a game from the past. It felt like nothing changed. So yeah, there is that. Next, we got Call of Duty Season 5 Reloaded. Lara Croft has been added to the game as a playable character. She looks awesome. She comes with her dual pistols. There's even a climbing axe in the game that you could, you know, potentially use with her. Other news about Season 5. See, Black Cell and the Battle Pass offerings will be available. Fort Resurgence is coming to Warzone, which is the Al-Bagra fortress in Al-Mazrah. Ready for Resurgence. Armored Royale is back. DMZ is reloaded. Additional Shadow Company missions have been added. Upgrade tasks. So yeah, the stakes for that are getting a little higher here. Armored Royale has returned, and that has to do with vehicular combat in Warzone, which is quite fun. Shadow Company 3, 4, and 5 missions for DMZ. Yeah, you do have the climbing axe, the silenced MP5, and then of course there is what looks like Colt 1911 type of pistol here, if I'm looking at that right. So yeah, looking really cool. Season 5 Reloaded looks like a lot of fun, and it looks like a lot of stuff is still being added to the game. It looks like they're going to continue to support the game, and I'm curious how long they might be working on DMZ and some other things beyond the initial launch. Okay, so actually that pistol is a 9mm Damon. But yeah, it does kind of have that look of sort of a 1911 type pistol. And yeah, it can be wielded akimbo. So for you dual wielding nerds, you can do that. But the MP5 actually is it's a burst fire and a semi-auto fire. There's no full auto version of that, so keep that in mind. Next, Sweden's Embracer Group, once again in the news here. I've got an article from Reuters. They're weighing options for Borderlands maker Gearbox Entertainment. So, Embracer is weighing whether they want to sell Gearbox. They're well known for the first-person shooter Borderlands, the looter shooter. So it says here they had a $2 billion deal, which we were alluding. It was kind of alluded that this was a deal with the Saudis, and that they were either going to invest in some way in some sort of game, or that there was going to be a lot of Saudi money coming into the company in order to invest in future projects, because they said they've had a challenging year. But apparently that deal fell through, which had them pretty depressed. But Gearbox was actually the publisher of Remnant 2, which recently came out and topped the sales charts for July. So very exciting on that. But the possibility of them facing all these losses, you know, shutting down Marvel's Avengers, shutting down Volition, they could be looking to shed some stuff here. And Embracer Group is a company that they've acquired a lot of things. They own Lord of the Rings, movie rights, theme park rides. They own the books outside of the Tolkien ones, so any sort of outside lore writings or cookbooks or whatever, they could do that. Any video games and stuff like that, they would own the rights to. So it's a little crazy. They've spent a lot of money acquiring several studios, of course. Crystal Dynamics, they acquired them from Square Enix. Also, they acquired Eidos and several others. And so they were buying out all these studios, and they spent a lot of money, and they're expecting to sort of spin these around into $100 million franchises, and it's just not happening. And so best case scenario, I could see potentially Gearbox if it were sold. I feel like if Xbox purchased them, it would remain a multi-platform title for things like Borderlands and all the other games that we see them working on. But if Sony were to buy Gearbox, we would not see any more multi-platform games. So I do think that would be horrible. And that's not me pushing like some sort of console war thing. It's just historically accurate that anytime Sony purchases a studio, it is specifically to make those games exclusive to their console, and they do not care if previous titles have been, multi-platform. So once again, we have to look for what's best for gamers and not necessarily what's best for our favorite plastic box manufacturer. So we'll go with that. Check out my merch store on Spring. Link is in the description. You'll find apparel, homeware, accessories, pet stuff, and drinkware, all designed around my brand. I'm proud to sport this stuff myself, and I know you will enjoy it as much as I do. Profits from the merch store support the podcast and the YouTube channel. Take a look and see if anything suits you. I have a wide arrangement of colors and sizes, with many designs being rotated in constantly. Listen to the podcast and check in regularly for coupon codes. Thank you for your support. Let's see. Next, this one's a big one, and we will probably spend the majority of the episode talking about this. This is an article that IGN put out on Twitter, and it says Square Enix loses nearly $2 billion in value since Final Fantasy XVI. Now, it has been noted that this article is actually factually not true. Even on the Twitter post, it was noted that actually this is a result of over the past several years, several Square Enix games underperforming, and some of them being really good games and just sadly underperforming. But it's sort of the title of the article and the substance of the article here from IGN. I think they could have done better with this. This is heavily clickbait, which is whenever you lie about something in order to get people to click and to read the article, to watch the video, whatever it may be. Clickbait is one of the most heinous sins, and I do not contribute to that. So we want to cover this and make sure that we can explain this to you in a way that makes sense. So it is not the fault of Final Fantasy XVI that Square Enix has lost $2 billion in value. This did not just happen suddenly. If we look over here, I can talk about some of the sales here. Final Fantasy XVI sold 3 million copies during launch week. It has sold 10 million copies as of May 2023. Now, let's look at sort of big picture here, Square Enix as a whole. If we look, and I'm going to go way back. I'm going to go way back to show you that Square Enix does not have a way. They do not have a way. They don't have any sort of barometer here that they say, okay, this game was a success, this game was a failure. They think that every game needs to be making $100, $200 million, $500 million. Every game that I'm about to list to you here has essentially, in Square Enix's mind, the news article comes out every time a new game launches from them, and they say sales underperformed, or despite this game being really good, sales have plummeted. So that does not, shares plummeting in the company around the release of Final Fantasy XVI does not mean that Final Fantasy XVI sold poorly. These are them looking at long distance decisions, and if they're looking at selling shares, it's probably because, after this, it's probably not going to do well for a while because we're waiting on Final Fantasy VII Remake's Rebirth to come out. So let's go way back. Tomb Raider, back in 2013, this is the reboot of the franchise, sold 14.5 million. Rise of the Tomb Raider in 2015 sold 11.8 million. And now, I do remember this, with each Tomb Raider game, they said underperformed expectations, they expected better. But if you look at these games in comparison, a lot of these are critical successes and were considered so. Shadow of the Tomb Raider in 2018 only made 8.9 million, but still very successful. Now, for the entire trilogy, since then, leading up to today, because, the game continues to sell well today, the trilogy of these Tomb Raider reboots has sold 38 million in lifetime sales for the trilogy. Now, Tomb Raider as a franchise, as far as all the games that Tomb Raider has ever made since 1996, has sold over $88 million. So that's pretty good for a franchise that really, it definitely has a niche market. It's been a third-person action-adventure treasure hunting series. It's not something that maybe appeals to everyone, but it certainly does make a lot of money. Now, also, Tomb Raider has made 53 million in paid mobile downloads, so that's probably looking at some of their mobile games as well. Marvel's Avengers sold 3 million copies at launch. I am not sure how it has changed from then till now. but at the end of the month, it will be delisted from digital stores, and there is a massive sale on Steam for Marvel's Avengers. So you might want to look into that if you haven't picked up a copy, if you just want to have one. It is currently $3.99. It is marked down 90% off on Steam. There is no excuse for at least not having the game, running the campaign, and playing it with friends. I still like to play it even on PC. But you're definitely going to want to pick it up on your PlayStation if you want Spider-Man. So yeah, that game, Marvel's Avengers, had a budget of over $100 million. And so only making $3 million or more is not very good, but it got bashed in the reviews big time. And I still hold that it is an incredible game with some really bad circumstances and perhaps a studio that could not handle the responsibility of a live service game. So unfortunately, it was a great idea. It was a great premise. It's a game that plays really well, and it's a lot of fun. But a lot of the problems and the fact that the press never cut them a break, even when they came out with really good expansions and they were doing really good, they would just, sort of bring up their past failures and just try to remind people like, hey, this isn't a game that's worth your time, when actually the reverse is true. Now, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy also came out with, a little bit of an issue finding its footing. Its audience. People assumed that it was made by the same studio, but Square Enix was the same publisher, but it was actually Eidos that was making Guardians of the Galaxy. It was not Crystal Dynamics. It's not the same studio. Now, the games are quite similar in terms of gameplay. They really are both fun. Guardians of the Galaxy won Best Narrative. It also found its audience later on Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus Extra. It had a $100 million budget, and it found its way to about 8 million players since the Game Pass and PlayStation Plus Extra expanded their audience a little bit. The developers did speak on that and mention that they are really excited that the game sort of started off as a little bit of a niche title, and they finally found their audience. And it was really cool to see that happen, because it is a good game, and it is sort of akin to games like Mass Effect. So, what I have next on the list, Forspoken this year had lackluster sales, 2.9 million units sold at launch, and $100 million budget. So once again, it's Square Enix investing in these titles with these developers, and it seems like there's a running gag here of every game has a $100 million budget. Every game has to be this massive AAA game, and it's really hard to be able to crush a budget like that. Now, a Marvel brand game should have been able to easily destroy that budget and maybe make hundreds of millions of dollars, because the Marvel brand is really hip right now. Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, these are things that are well known in the public space. But when you have a game that potentially launches in a little bit of a fragile state in terms of performance, and then you also have, the fact that content isn't ready enough on time, it's not reliable enough, and when it comes out, is it good enough? So things like that get in the way and make it very difficult. Now, moving forward, Final Fantasy XVI sold 3 million copies during launch week, 10 million as of May 2023. Final Fantasy VII Remake shipped 3.5 million copies in 3 days when it launched as a PlayStation 4 exclusive in April of 2020. As of September 15th of this year, so literally 2 days ago, it has sold 7 million units. And they also mentioned, Square Enix also mentioned, that Final Fantasy VII Remake performed below expectations. This is a running gag here. So even when games do well, by this barometer here, it's like some of these have been consistent numbers of 14, 10 million, or 3 million, or 4 million. It's just outrageous that they just don't have any sort of sense of scale. Either they need to lower their standards to what their games are able to put out there, because, you know, JRPGs, once again, it's a niche of gaming. It's not a wide player base where it's like everybody plays Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's not like Starfield, where it's like people enjoy first-person shooters, third-person shooters, RPGs, and stuff like that. JRPGs can be very niche. So another thing, Final Fantasy 15 sold 5 million units on its first day. The game launched on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in November 2016 and remains the fastest-selling game in the Final Fantasy series. So, I mean, the idea is that Square Enix is just impossible to please. Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel's Avengers, the Tomb Raider games, Forspoken, the Final Fantasy series, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Outriders, Hitman. I should also note here that I found some numbers on Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided. Together sold over 12 million units. So once again, these are games that are, you know, selling pretty well for the most part. Like, they're no GTA or Minecraft or Fortnite or something like that, but they're selling really well. And the problem is that Square Enix is horrible as a publisher, especially for Western studios. They have no grasp on what these games are, what sales expectations are, and how to get logical expectations here, people. It's not too much to ask. But that's where I'll leave you on that. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. The last thing I have is actually, you know, something to give us a little bit of an optimistic boost. I don't want to end the show on a bummer here. But I have here RoboCop, the video game, is apparently an experience that the movies can't match. The latest preview of RoboCop Rogue City shows off many of the cyborg cops' impressive abilities and make it the most fun tank shooter in years. Now, when I saw the latest video for RoboCop Rogue City, I noticed that the campaign had like some detective elements and some, like, you know, player choice and like scanning crime scenes and teaming up with the police and, you know, sort of, you know, teaming up with the big walking robots and working with, you know, like the SWAT team and stuff like that. A lot of different review sites have been able to check out the opening bank heist mission and showing that this next-gen game really looks gorgeous, plays gorgeous. It ends up being a first-person shooter, which, you know, is kind of interesting. I think my only bone to pick is that RoboCop's armor looks really cool, and I kind of wish it was a third-person game, so that you could actually see, you know, how awesome your character is. But yeah, you have lots of enemies. Interactable objects can be grabbed, thrown, exploded, various things like that. Action stays entertaining. Game has great pacing, extra abilities that greatly help you and feel more unstoppable. Not only will you be using your trademark pistol, but I noticed that there were various rifles, MP5s, and stuff like that. So you'll probably be able to pick up weapons off enemies or maybe use other police weaponry. Players can use RoboCop's trademark and highly customizable Auto 9 machine pistol, which is awesome. Devastating effects. You can pick up enemies to be used as bullet shields or throwable weapons. Enemy guns can be used, and apparently using skill points and slotting them into particular traits to unlock abilities like Rocket Dash to get more out of tight corners or into enemy groups and cause havoc. Slow-mo inducing reflex boost is also in the game. Very epic. But apparently the game's writing really shines between the moments of the 1980s inspired gun battles when players can choose what kind of officer of law they want to be. It will task the player with gathering clues and speaking with civilians for leads. Sometimes finding the correct leads will grant access to necessary areas, while others may unlock unique dialogue options. And so you'll be able to sway the public's image of RoboCop. The lines and delivery is pulled right out of Peter Weller's likeness in the new project, and it's very authentic to the movies. So once again, it feels like they're doing this right, which is what you want to see from this. So yeah, it was playable at Gamescom 2023. He was working with the ED-209 robots, which are those massive walkers, those mechs. Motorcycle gang members were robbing the bank, and it showed a much more leveled up RoboCop. So yeah, slow-mo was really cool. Join those armored squads seems really fun. And it looks like you'll be able to unlock shock, stun, dash through, robot punch, various abilities for your character. This is by developer Teyon, T-E-Y-O-N. Have adapted the character from the original 1987 film, and combat feels more like how RoboCop should. Fast-moving shooters fans should find something familiar here, and it's shaping up to be one of the more popular adaptations. So Rogue City releases on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC on November 2nd, 2023. So yeah, definitely very excited for that one. I will have that on my list. I am very excited for that one. Gamers, definitely check out the merch store. I will be consistently updating that. Don't forget to sign up for a membership on the YouTube channel. Write a review for the Shackcast. And check this out. I'm going to be doing some reviews on some cameras this week. This is the Camp Snap. This is a digital camera that is essentially, it's like a 35mm disposable camera, but it essentially has a memory card here, so it's actually not disposable. But I'm going to be doing a full review on that on the channel. And then I also have a film camera from Kodak that I want to do a full review on for the channel. This is a Kodak Ektar H35. This is a half film camera. So that means it takes your film, and instead of printing the film on the whole image, it's going to actually just do half of the image. So it's 2 photos per frame of film on the strip. So yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. I'm going to see what type of photos I can come up with on that. It's probably going to be a kind of a long-term review on that one. I'll definitely talk about how it performs, and then we'll probably have to wait, however long it takes for me to ship the film out and have it developed. That should be interesting and exciting, but stay tuned for that on the channel. I appreciate your support. I'm going to be getting Shackcast episodes out on a more regular basis. I'm dedicating myself full-time to the YouTube channel here. We're going to be putting out a lot of content, and so your support is absolutely necessary to keep this podcast and, of course, the YouTube channel, the TikTok, the Twitter, all of these various things alive. So thank you for your support. Appreciate you all. Thank you for listening, watching on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Thank you for watching. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye. Remember that the best way to support the channel is to sign up for a membership on the YouTube channel. Members get exclusive channel badges to highlight their continued support over the months and years. As a member, you get access to special emojis expressing a variety of emotions and support for the channel. Members will also receive photo and status updates, early access to select videos, and at higher tiers, access to a members-only Discord channel. Your support is what keeps the Shackcast photography blog and the YouTube channel going. Please like and share the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on a video or a Shackcast episode. Thank you for tuning in.